and welcome to the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. I'm your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is Black MINDZ News. Black MINDZ News is to report, articulate, transmit, communicate, insinuate, divulge, investigate, unveil, decode, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, or website, or quotes from publications. As I articulate these information, I ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this place that we call the United States, we, the foundational blacks of America, the bloodline, the historical lineage, the historical people known as BADOS, which is Black American Descendant of Slaves. Some say Black African Descendant of Slaves. Others say ADOS, American Descendant of Slaves. We who call ourselves these, we today, the children, the offspring, and the present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. And you know what the motto of my show is? I'm never going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. Well, today's date is August 12, 2019. We're going to go over to Louisiana, but when I take you to Louisiana, I want to tell you about a story that I heard that is connecting to why we're going to Louisiana. Did you hear that, they've been having these tours? Well, those of us who are BADOS and ADOS, we descendants, lineage, right? We tied to a certain ancestry in this. And there are places that still stand today as replicas of the establishments and institutions that enslaved our people. There's money being made, and there's tourism. Well, I'm going to take you about something that had happened on a particular place, and there was complaints about what the tour guide was saying. Well, we're going to look at that. Now I'm going to bridge it over to what happened over in Louisiana. Maybe that could be the results needed to stop the quelling, to stop the bickering, and to set the mindset of being, devastated and not appreciative of what they've seen. Well, stay tuned as Black MINDZ News divulges this story. Again, this is Black MINDZ News, and stay tuned for this broadcast. Hey, how's y'all doing? Again, this is your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and want to welcome you to Black MINDZ News. First and foremost, want to give my thanks and appreciation to those who are my subscribers and fam. What's good, family? Glad you could participate. Welcome again to your favorite news source, Black MINDZ News. Passerbys, if you should just happen to be searching on your search engine and somehow you came across either the thumbnail or you just happened to see the title and it intrigued you to click on welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. Now, the reason why we're the most hated show in the black corner of the internet, we used to could get 275, which is 250,000 views, 50,000 views, 30,000, 20,000, and so forth. Today, in 2019, after being in business for 7 years, we can only get 100 views. You tell me you know anybody who just started might be that, but somebody been in the business for 7 years and can show he been around to do certain things, but somehow being suppressed. You can't tell me this ain't the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. Go down the aisle, see some things you might like. If you should see something that might make you feel some kind of way, remember that the motto of the show is the truth don't need no partner. Now let's get into this, right? So let me show you this first. We're going to go here first. I'm going to start it off here first because again, sometimes you have to ask yourself, some people, the mitigated gall, as they say, the mitigated gall you have to be complaining because you want things to be just your way, right? So let me show you this. Let me show you this right? It says there in your screen, some white people don't want to hear about slavery at plantations built by slaves. I'm going to say that again. Some white people don't want to hear about slavery at plantations built by slaves. Now, again, this was an article that came out, and I'm going to go ahead and do the due diligence and present it for you. Sit back for a second as I espouse this article. Say it was just not what we expected. I was depressed by the time I left. The tour was more of a scolding of the South. The brief mentions of the former owners were defamatory. Would not recommend. These are a few of the apparently negative reviews posted online about the guide tours of southern plantations, some of which went viral Thursday after former Colorado congressional candidate Sarah Rao tweeted a screenshot of one. And it says on the tweet, it says, my husband and I were extremely disappointed in this tour. We didn't come here a lecture on how the white people treated slaves. We came to get this history of a southern plantation and get a tour of the house and grounds. The tour guide was so radical about slave treatment, we felt we were being lectured and bashed about the slavery. My ancestors were from Sicily, never owned slaves, and my husband was German. And none of his ever owned slaves. I am by far not a racist or against all Americans having equal rights, but this was my vacation. And now we are crossing all plantation tours off our list. It was just not what we expected. I'll go back to Louisiana and see some real plantations that are so much more enjoyable to tour. Keep that in mind. Approximately 12.5 million human beings were kidnapped from their homes in Africa and shipped to the New World from 1514 to 1866. According to historian Lewis Henry Gates, Jr., 1/8 died en route. Most were sent to South America. In 1860, the census counted approximately 4 million enslaved people in the United States, according to PolitiFacts. Would not recommend tour was all about how hard it was for the slaves, quoted, wrote one reviewer of the Whitney Plantation in Louisiana. Slaves who lived on plantation typically worked 10 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, according to the University of Houston Digital History. Children as young as 3 were put to work. I was depressed by the time I left and questioned why anyone would want to live in South Carolina. Read one review posted on Twitter about the McLennan Plantation in Charleston. In 1860, 402,406 people were living in South Carolina, not because they wanted to, but because they were enslaved. They made up 57% of the state population, according to census data. I felt the African American tour guide embellished her presentation and was racist towards me as a white person, another McLennan visitor wrote. In 1993, Historian Clarence J. Munford estimated the value of the labor performed by black slaves in the United States between 1619 and 1865, compound with 6% interest, to be $97.1 trillion in today's dollars without further compound interest added. That would be $172 trillion. One guide, Olivia, offered a heavy bias with only the hand-picked facts that nearly fit her narrative and for a large part weren't germane to a plantation tour, one person said of the McLennan Plantation, according to a review posted to Twitter. Before following up with the racist comment, I found it amusing when she told us some slaves fled to northern cities like Baltimore and Detroit, where they continue to thrive to this day. As many as 100,000 people escaped slavery on the Underground Railroad, according to historian James A. Banks. There's really nothing good you can say about slavery, but I felt the tour guide took it too far. His information is correct, but I think he left off part of the story. One review read, this month, Virginia will commemorate the arrival of the first enslaved Africans in 1619, which ushered in 246 years of brutal subjugation for millions of men, women, and children. One of those slaves was named Angela. If you're looking to visit a traditional plantation, look elsewhere, one review read. Many plantations, including George Washington, Mount Vernon, and Thomas Jefferson Monticello, are working to present a more accurate image of what life was like for slaves and slave owners. For those who may prefer a fuzzier, less accurate portrayal of plantation life, Gone with the Wind is streaming on Amazon and iTunes for $3.99, a low price but still higher than the average slave wage, which was $0. Okay, so, and this is coming out of the Washington Post. I will post this for those who might want to see it. Now, again, here it was, people going on plantation tours. White folks, right? Trying to get a history lesson, being in the place present, and they want you to say the story in the way that would be befitting for their ears to hear. I don't want to hear how hard it was for a slave. Yet I am not racist. I love everybody. I was from Sicily. My husband's from Germany, and he don't own no slaves. But I don't want to hear about that. So you want the PG version, right? Wait a minute. Aren't the tour guides part as one person laughed when they said that the people who were once upon a time when it's, Underground Railroad went to the north, and the person said it was the Detroit place, and he thought it was very amusing and funny where they said those people today. But maybe they didn't go directly because, again, let's clear that part up. When they went north, they weren't talking about in the United States because all this shit was still under the same shit. Let's keep that shit 100. They were talking about going to Canada. Let's keep that 100. We're trying, this is only in the South. How the hell did you build the North, right? Okay, that's funny too, right? So anyway, what that person was interpreting, and again, you took it again, you want to be, everything got to be particular and precise when it comes to you, because why? Again, the fragility of mind is you not want to accept the fact of what had been done. Now, if you are not part of it, why do you feel offended when you hear it? I'm going to say that again. If you, who can say out your own mouth that my people have nothing to do with it, then why do you feel offended when you hear it? Why? Why do you feel offended? I would never be offended if somebody said something that did not pertain to me or nothing about nothing with me. That rolled off like oil on water. But in some senses, that's not it. So you say you felt like you were being scolded about something. Well, again, who were the tour guides? What are the descendancy of them? It sounded like the people that was there was BADOS, ADOS. They are the bloodline tied historical people present to this day. The ancestors of the place you're talking about history that has no relevance to you. You're standing right in front of the descendancies of them today. And you think in today's day of 2019 that you're looking at something that is historical, antique, that is sit there for just a tour guide versus somebody who is the bloodline and the historical people of it, that they don't feel some kind of way? No, not the least bit. They don't cross your mind at all. Right? I understand that you pay your money to go to a place, again, to get the tour. But again, you must understand that these people here are these is the bloodline of that what you're talking about. They ain't tell you what they heard, they tell you what they know. And y'all have the mitigated gall to complain. Yet you say you have nothing to that. You want it the way you want it. See, that's the problem here. The problem's always fixated about the way you see everything. Everything has to be under the way you want everything to be. But see, then you can't walk in the shoes of that who traverse through that, what you call back as a tour to just go to visit as something of your leisure, pleasure time to learn. What about those who experience the life of that? Not about something that you read. We're talking about what you lived. Let me say that again. Not something that you read. We're talking about the people who live it. So it's very common to see that people always got this thing about how when we have certain feelings and the way we look at things, that it's always the wrong way to look at it. Speak for yourself. You know nothing about what we go through and what we experience. And yet you claim automatically, without any hesitation, I'm not racist. And the very next words that come out your mouth kicks you right back in your own damn teeth. Every time. That's how you, again, because no one can sit there and tell you nothing, because if they tell you something, there's something wrong with them. But again, that's what's happening these days. The creator of the universe is shining a big mirror down on this place here so that you can see yourself. But can you acknowledge what you see is what it comes down to, right? So that's kind of crazy, right? That somebody will sit here going on a tour and you want it to be the way you want it to be. You feel like somehow you're feeling guilty about what's being said. You're hearing it directly from the blood of the people who come from that. So it's not going to come in the way, the PG version sometimes. Depending on maybe somebody prior to you has ticked them off. Maybe somebody said some things and made them feel some kind of way, and you being in that and being in the obvious, and maybe the spirit in the grounds are going and they're speaking through their now descendants and children, that they now have an audience of those like they sitting there speaking as you being descendants of whoever you from, they speaking through them, and the energy like you hear now is coming out, and you're getting mad because you don't want to hear that. We beg your pardon. See, that's the whole point. No one wants to never hear about what took place because you feel guilty knowing the conditions of what you see today. Ain't too much change of what you say then. You're always talking about this stuff of commemorating and all this stuff, but it's all fluff. It's all showy displays of one, but never going to do anything really to do anything. So you don't want to hear about the plantations and how the slaves built it. Then what are you there for? What is the purpose of yours? Oh, you want it to just be, again, like you say, well, let's go to the ones back over in Louisiana. Well, let me show you something here. Let me show you something here. Let me show y'all something. So they don't like to see the plantation that was built and being there. And then somehow that the people who can get some kind of employment are working in these kind of places. And sometimes the energy and them telling the story, you're going to get it from a real perspective. You're going to get it from not just from the period of time that you're in there talking about. You're talking about somebody modern right there, right now, speaking to you in the second minutes and breath that you're breathing right now. But you don't like that. So what you try to do, you want to complain because you want to get them fired. I ain't get them fired. You're talking like that, right? So let me show you something up in Louisiana. Since they say, well, let's go to Louisiana. It's a lot more better. Well, let me show you something that happened up in Louisiana. Check this out. Be right back.
Jones is off tonight. The Concordia Parish community has lost a piece of their town's history in a devastating fire. NBC 10's Maya Hudgens talked to neighbors about this tragedy and the loss it means for Ridgecrest. She joins us now live in studio. Maya.
Bodie, last night a fire destroyed the Frogmore Plantation home, leaving many devastated. The historic Frogmore Plantation house was built in 1815, making the home older than 200 years. However, July 26, the home caught fire.
But I went back this morning, and it was still smoldering, so I see everything's gone except for the 3 chimneys, you know. But like I say, it's totally demolished.
Buddy and Lynette Tanner bought the property back in 1960 and were living in the house. Local paper The Natchez Democrat says when Lynette Tanner arrived home, she heard the fire alarms blaring, but didn't see anything wrong until she went up the steps and saw the smoke.
I really feel upset because they lost all of their belongings that were in the house.
For many locals, Frogmore Plantation has been around their whole life. To see part of it gone is heartbreaking.
It's just one of those things that you thought would be around forever. It's been here forever, and now it's just gone.
It's just bad to see a part of history go away like that, you know, something that a lot of people come out to see it.
84 Quick Stop is less than 6 miles away from the plantation spot. Workers say Mr. Tanner is a regular and is loved in the community.
He comes in here just about every day and he gets a sandwich.
And they hope Mr. Tanner will be encouraged knowing he is well loved and known.
He's special. He likes his sausage, and matter of fact, the sausage is a smoked link, and he likes it with an egg on a biscuit. We already know what he wants, you know, so we get it together and get it ready.
At this time, the cause of the fire is still undergoing investigation. Frogmore Cotton Plantation in Jens offers several tours. However, the plantation home is not a part of them. There are hopes they will be running again soon. In the studio, Maya Hudgens, NBC 10, your local news leader.
To follow breaking news out of Plantation. That's where a fire broke out overnight.
Let's get right to local 10's Sarah on, where she's live at that scene with more information. Sarah, what do we know?
So we know that a family of 4 was inside this home when it caught fire early this morning. You can see one unit is still on scene, but let me show you the video we have from earlier of the big presence, this big response from Plantation Fire Department, police, and EMTs. The state fire marshal was also here. The home is on Garden Court in Plantation. Again, 6 units arrived here to put out this fire, and we're told now it's fully contained. We know there were 3 adults and a child inside. They all made it out of the house safely. I briefly spoke to a woman who lives in this house. She only confirmed to me that everyone is okay. Fire crews are now working to find out what caused this fire. We're told the family, they said they didn't need any assistance from the Red Cross. So back out here live, thankfully everyone was okay, but again, a very large police, EMT, and fire response out here. Again, 6 units were here this morning. 1 is still on scene. That's the latest live from Plantation this morning. Syra Onworth, Local 10 News.
All right, so Plantation's catching on fire, right? Right? Hey, that's the answer to all that, right? You know, again, you know how some people wear a cross around their neck as a representation to remind them of Jesus being on the cross. Huh? Think about that. The way somebody died, you kept that around your neck, right? They got hit by a car, got a big car around your neck, you got a plane on your neck, or merry-go-round, or whatever it might be, a shark ate them up. You know what I'm saying? So that's your representation of how you going to remind yourself of this individual, right? So maybe, again, let's just look at the fact that Plantation burning down might be ancestors, again, who burned them down, right? And ancestors like, hey, we trying to get free up here. Maybe we locked up in here even after death, right? Again, we just hypothetically speaking, but I wouldn't want that on them. But let's just say, here you is talking about how, oh, we don't want to hear about slavery and plantations built by slaves. Well, you shouldn't be there no damn way. Right? You shouldn't be able to just come up in there and walk up in there and act as if there's someplace, you know, I'm doing as a tour. No, that's something that is actually, I don't think none of it should be still around if you ask me. Now, somebody said, well, the historical part of you heard the elder on their video talking about is how it's, you know, that it had been, matter of fact, I ain't gonna get, I'm gonna get to that. I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna talk about that. So, That's just my thought, right? A reminder of what? We don't need to see that. We still living it. Ain't nothing too much change. The plantation from on the back where the house is, the mansion is, what you want to say, is no longer as they call red line cities and communities and ghettos and things of that. They still there today. They modern today, right? We still there. And they're still the children. They're still the bloodline. Still the ties of that, right? So you don't need to keep showing that, taking it back. Remember, I just did the story the other day. Remember, I talking about the descendants of the two Africans that they were talking about the plantation in North Carolina, right? Remember they talking about they was going there. There was the family from California, and there was about 6 of the family members that come out of 40 decided they want to stay a night in the plantation. And again, according to you may want to, you may not want to. Depends on who you are, right? So that's just dependent. Now everybody may not look at that as a good thing, right? And so just take it. Matter of fact, let me go ahead. Let me show you this. I'm going ahead and show this. Right, so that's how it look, right? That's a plantation being burnt down, right? One of the plantations, right? Well, it's actually the plantation, but let me go ahead and give you a little background on that anyway. They call that the Frogmore Plantation, right? Let me give you a little history of this Frogmore. Let me do that first. Let me give the big part of the burn of it. You can go get that's that one part of it. Let me give you the other part to it. And I guess I could just leave it on that one. How about that? I'll just leave it on that one. Right? So it's talking about the making the history of Frogmore Plantation, right? And I'll give you this image while I tell you this part here. See, this is what they want. This is what they want, really. Let me show you this. All right. Right? Here we go. Right? Now it says, when it comes to this, talking about the time travel machine may be a working of fiction, but Frogmore Cotton Plantation in Gin, you can get plenty darn close to feeling like you stepped into one. I'm going to say that again. Time travel machine may be a work of fiction, but at Frogmore Cotton Plantation in Gin, you can get pretty darn close to feeling like you stepped into one. This is an 1,800-acre cotton farm and museum whose history stretched back to circa, which means around, 1815, built near Native American mounds in the fertile Mississippi Delta. Frogmore's guide takes visitors through the plantation wild backstory from its heyday as they stop along the Natchez to the Natchitoches Wagon Trail, to its prominence as a Civil War encampment, to its present life as a working cotton operation. The fact that Frogmore continues to be farmed after 200 years makes it unique among plantation museums. There's no other cotton plantation in the South that is a museum and is actively being farmed. Lynette Tanner owns the Frogmore Plantation said. Now, Frogmore Plantation history is mysterious as it is fascinating. Tribes along here, long before French moved into the region during the 1700s, 700 years earlier, in fact, ancient Native American farmers built hundreds of mounds throughout the state. The most famous collection being a Poverty Point in Marksville. At Frogmore, you'll see one of the measures 14 feet high, 200 feet long. The Frogmore Mound was built over a wall structure whose use is unclear, leaving more questions than answers about the people who built it. Today, it is one of the 39 mounds along the state ancient mounds heritage area and trail. A stop for the westbound wagon. Frogmore Plantation was built on the invisible or inviolable plot of real estate. A farmer named Daniel Morris built the farm along an early wagon trail that stretched from the Natchez, Mississippi to the Natchitoches, a city that is 300 years old. As of 2014, is Louisiana's oldest. The trade route eventually led to the Camino Real in Texas, and also this interstate travel meant that Frogmore cotton was easy to ship across the South and beyond. By the time the Civil War came to Louisiana, the once tiny plantation had grown to a massive 2,640 acres. The war between the states comes to Frogmore. Picture this. It's August of 1864. The Civil War is raging. You're a Union soldier in a Confederate state, and you find a very wealthy friend in the remote plains of central Louisiana. That's exactly what happened at Frogmore, where its owner, William Gillespie, the son of who inherited Frogmore in 1855 after his parents were killed in a train wreck in Burlington, New Jersey, allowed Union soldiers to camp, stock up on supplies on this property before heading to raid on rebellion soldiers who been spotted along the Tunsa River. Union sympathizers like him weren't naive, Tanner said. They knew the South didn't have the economic structure to withstand the war. By aligning himself with the North, Gillespie guaranteed he would continue selling cotton throughout the nation long after the war was over. African role from slavery to emancipation. Despite the opposition to secession, many Union sympathizing planters in Louisiana had slaves. Frogmore had approximately 159. At the museum, visitors learned about the lives of African living and working on the plantation, the effects of the Civil War on women and children, and included stops at original slave cabins donated to the plantation. They are furnished as they would have been in the early of the 1800s. Tanner felt so strongly that the story of Louisiana slaves needed to be told that she wrote a book on it entitled Chain to the Land, available at museum gift shops or online as an ebook. Frogmore Plantation today honors the past while keeping an eye on the future. Tanner and her husband, George Buddy Tanner, continue working the fields and computerized cotton gin, producing approximately 900 bales of cotton per day. Stop by, try your hand at picking some cotton yourself, and learn about this rich history of this truly fascinating monument to Louisiana heritage. Now, what we just read there, you see how they have the tourism there, right? You see them out there taking pictures. Again, this is something that you get to, fascinate yourself with. But again, we're talking about the people who were there. We're talking about the bloodline. Our lineage, our blood in us goes there. This ain't something we go as a tour. This is something we live. And yet, people had the mitigated gall to complain that somebody was telling a story that made them feel a little uncomfortable. Right? And not sympathizing at all about what you see as the figure, the structure. Here's some people who are tied to it. May not be directly, but as into the institution of it. These people are there. You don't understand why this person has that kind of feeling, even though it's 2019, and a lot of them like to put up, well, that was way back over 150 years. That's emancipation. Then you got to go back from 150 from today back, then go back past Jim Crow, Reconstruction, and then we get back into it. You get what I'm saying? But everybody try to chide out, but I got a video coming on after this. Again, we're going to deal with that. So, but again, right? You see the two fires there, right? You see the fires, right? All right, let me give you another one of that, right? So that's what that looks like, right? And I think I got another one, right? So give me a little close up on it, right? Oh yeah, burned down, right? So they got burnt down. Somehow, mysteriously, it's burning down, right? So let's look at something that had been said, right? Where's she at? Remember when you seen this, right? Let me see. Remember when they was doing the interview about the plantation in the restaurant, right? Remember this here? Remember these two here? Right? Remember them two right there? Remember what was said? The white girl said right there, right? The white girl said, she said that it's one of those things you think it will be around forever. Now it's gone. Well, the white girl said that. Look how the sister looking, right? You thinking that the way that sister looking, she like, you know what I'm saying? Now she might be thinking that, right? She might be thinking what you might be thinking, right? When you hear it saying that, right? It said, it's bad to see a part. Oh, well, that was the elder brother. He was like, it's bad to see a part of the history gone like that. A lot of people come and see it, right? Now again, that's somebody's business. That's not sitting there as a part for just history that they're not making money and it just represent that it once upon a time. No, they're making money off that. You know what I'm saying? It's a business. And that business reflects something different from you as a personage that has a history tied to it, and it's not a good history. It's a atrocious history. It is a history that has lingered on, still persistent, maybe not in that form and fashion today, but it has its own unique, stealthy way of how they doing it, right? And so when they finally do get to this sister, she talking about, they talking about how Mr. Tanner is well loved, right? Right? And then remember the little shorties was like, now the shorty, remember do I got a picture of them little shorties? I think I got that. Do I got a picture of them shorties? Let's see if I got a picture of them little shorties. Because the little shorty said something kind of a little funny, right? It was like, he had said, the little guy was like, he felt sorry that they was losing all of their property, right? He said because of the burn down, he was like, I had to lose all their property. Well, let's say if that's a fire, they burnt down and lost all their damn property. What about we as black folks? We didn't get nothing. Everybody still who made money or some kind of form of fashion still got something to show. All we got to show is the persistence of what done been in, is the small changes that is today. And that's the only thing that we got to show, right? And so, everybody gonna have their own way of looking at it. Again, teach his own, right? Teach his own. And so that sister sat there, she said, well, he likes his sausage link and the egg and on a biscuit on it, right? See? Right? What you thought you were going to say? I know the way she was looking. What you thought she was going to say, right? You know you going to say that. You can't say nothing else out of that, right? You still live down there, right? You know what I'm saying? You still down there. You more tied to that than those of us who were some of the migrational people who moved from the South, ran up out of the South, came up into the cities, and, we kind of traverse back and forth for vacation and stuff like that, but we don't reside there anymore. So we're not really under that. So we have a different way how we, look at stuff and deal with stuff. But if you always been down there and you ain't never left, then you can expect that's the way that's going to sound like, right? And so just to say that you have a problem with people the way that they doing it because it's not the way you want it done, I mean, that in itself seems, preposterous, right? That you would just really, you're going to complain like that openly? You want everybody to know that's how you're feeling? Then, what does that really say about you, right? It says a lot of things about you. So I'm just saying that, where we are today and what's happening today in the rear nerve and people showing who they is, it's all still systemic to what we're talking about. If you can go to a place for a tour just to visit, what about in today's time? They don't correlate for some odd reason. They don't correlate the history to the present. That's something that's separate and different. That's not it. And then they can find a way to get off and say, that has nothing to do with me. I'm from Sicily. He's from Germany. It seems like ain't nobody in this country part of nothing to do with what happened in the South. Everybody seems like that is just something that happened. It ain't got nothing to do with nothing. That is all some other time. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? So, again, I'm just going to leave it at that. You tell me what you think. Give me some of your ideas on how you do it. If you want to put it out there. If you don't, it's all good. We all good. But I just wanted to bring that story out there for those who may not have heard it, right? That, people went out there and they complained about how they was like, well, the tour guides and the way they did it, I didn't appreciate that. I didn't come here to get scolded. Right? I didn't come here to get scolded. I came here to, do it the way I wanted to do it, and that's the way it's going to be, right? So, again, this is Black Minds News. I want to thank you for your participation. I don't know, something's going on over here. I don't know what's going on over here. All right, there we go. So, again, this is Black Minds News. I want to thank you for your participation. Again, see one another. Give that universal nod. What's good, brother? What's good, sister? Understand that we in this for the long haul. They got allies. Whether they John Brown types, are they gonna stay in the fire when the pan get hot? It's okay to have them, but understand that, as our illustrious ancestor John Henry Clark says, that we have no friends. We are in this alone. See how people will tell you they not one thing, but then the way their actions is show you something entirely different. You upset because somebody is saying something the way that you don't like or you don't prefer. Yes, you paid your money and you're entitled to say that. Then, like you said, we're not going to do any more based on the simple fact because of their attitude. But you got to recognize that some people are part of that history that you're talking about. Life in America ain't the same for you as for other people. Everybody got their own story. Everybody gonna say their own story. Respect everybody's history, what they gone through, and what they continue to go through. Till then, y'all, Black Minds News Report. Peace, love, and to the next show, y'all.
Thank you.